Good morning, everyone. So today I have a very special guest with me, Milos, the Mind Sarcev, and the first time I saw him was in Arnold's new encyclopedia, which was like about 15 to 20 years ago, and since then I've been a big fan of his physique. So today we're going to be asking him some questions, asking him about how things are going with him. So let's see how this goes. So I'll just see if he's online and I'll send him a request.
Hello.
Hello, how are
Hi,
you?
good. Hi, doing good. That's good, good, good.
I'm doing great. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for taking your time to come over for this chat. And I want to let you know that when I started in the early 2000s and I got a chance to see Arnold's new encyclopedia and saw your pictures in it, so I got very inspired. So, I had never dreamt that I'd get a chance to learn from you or even talk to you. So, doing the muscle camp with you in Dubai was like a dream come true. And like talking to you today is also like a very special day for me.
It is my pleasure. I've seen you in Dubai and I realize how much you know. I mean, you're orthopedic expert, you're a physiotherapist, you're a certified nutritionist, and I've just seen on hand the questions that you were asking is obviously vast knowledge that you have. So, of course, I'm excited to be here. And also, I want to say, I have like such a huge following from India. That's unbelievable. On my Facebook and on Instagram, the by far the most followers are from India, and I get the
Yeah,
messages all the time. I love Indian people. As you know, I've been
Indian.
to India 3 times with a good friend of mine in Delhi, Manish Talreya. He took me everywhere I wanted to see. I'm a huge fan of Mahatma Gandhi, and I read his autobiography and everything about it. So I love India, and as soon as you call me, I said, of course I'll do it. But I
Uh,
understand that we have a 1 hour, right? Because after
yeah,
one
yeah,
hour
yeah,
they're gonna cut us off. So
yeah,
let me answer all the
yeah.
questions that you might have.
So, how's life in California right now with the COVID and everything going
It's
on?
horrible.
Is
It's horrible here in Los Angeles County. Lockdown is until August 1st and maybe August 15th. And then they
okay?
might prolong it. It's Orange County, is a little bit different, but LA County is horrible.
And so, is your gym also functional or is it closed?
I'm not supposed to go there, but yeah,
Uh,
I'm blessed I
not,
could train.
yeah,
I would
okay.
go crazy if I couldn't train.
Yeah, like most of the people right now have the same mentality. They're going crazy because the gyms are not functional and they're having a hard time coping up with it. So
Yes,
it's
I mean,
hard for
I
everyone.
see that even you train in home, right? You did some squats and everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, uh, necessity is mother of all the inventions. You can do everything and anything. And I'll tell you, back in '90s, I had a seminar in Poland, and there was like about 500 people. There was a movie theater, and I said something that everybody later questioned me. I said, if you can go to empty room, no, nothing in it, and 30 minutes later come out super pumped, then you know bodybuilding, right? And I demonstrate to them like you can do like so much with your own body, obviously, but uh, gym is commodity, and if you have access to the gym, obviously it's a much better choice.
Yeah. So I'll start off with you've trained greats like Flex Wheeler, Ben Tukulski, Chris Cormier, Dennis James, Dennis Wolf, Triple H, and the list goes on. So I wanted to ask you, how did the journey from being a competitor to a coach happen?
Yes.
And
Yeah. So see, I was a professional from 1991, and I competed extensively. I actually broke the record. I had a 72 pro shows.
yeah,
Now Dexter Jackson passed me because he's a vampire. He keeps competing. But I competed in pretty much every show that was organized. I believe that you want to be in shape, yeah, and if you're a bodybuilder, you're supposed to look like a bodybuilder year round. So I had a contract with the Weider. I was always available for photo shoots, guest posing, and stuff like that. But as I was working for Flex, I did a lot of editorials and articles, and then they realized I don't speak like everybody else, and I never really did. So I got that nickname from Flex magazine, The Mind, right? Which
Mind. Yeah.
I like to, just because I would tell you, my father was not a psychiatrist, and from very beginning, early age, he told me to think in my own head. It doesn't matter what I see, what I hear, what I read. He says always process, think about it, and then try to improve it. So this is how I approach bodybuilding. But to answer your question, how did I convert from a competitor into the coach? I was getting some crazy results, and people were seeing that I made dramatic differences, right? And then they would approach me. So first guy that I actually helped was Nasser Al Sambari,
That's
if
it.
you remember.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
if you look at the 1994 Nasser Al Sambari's edition at Olympia, he was looking like a normal guy. And then 6 months later, 95, in a Houston Pro Show and Night of the Champions, he won both of those. He looked like
Uh-huh.
absolute freak. So right there, even though I was eating, and I was helping him beat me in a contest, if you can imagine that.
Yes.
But right after that, war went around, and then there was many people, including, let's say Chad Nichols, as you know, it's a famous trainer. He asked me, can you explain me a little bit what you did with Nasser? And
Hmm.
this is how all that started. And as I didn't really look for clients, but then 1999, I compete with Dennis James, the Night of the Champions, and basically after that show, he was going, "Oh yeah, I placed 15. I'm going to retire." They say, "Hold on." He said, "Let me just show you, a few things, and then we talk within weeks." The changes that Dennis James made in like 1 month period. I think I said this in a training camp in Dubai. 44 pounds in 1 month, and he was sending me pictures that you would think morphed, like
Uh-huh.
photoshopped, but back in
Yeah, he always looks
1999
smart.
that was not available, right? And he says, look what you did to me. I mean, really, response was just crazy. So after I decided to pretty much stop competing in 2003, even at the 2003 show that I competed, Gustavo Badell, I just posted his picture on my Instagram. He approached me and he said, Milos, okay, now maybe you can coach me. I said, Gustavo, I told you 1998. But he says, no, but you're competing against me, so a lot of people would not trust you if you
Yeah,
compete
because you're
against them,
competing
which for
against them.
me, as this interview is going to go, and I encourage you to ask any questions. If I give you advice, I want to explain you why I want you to do that. It's not just
Hmm.
follow my plan, don't ask the questions. No. It's always methodically. I would insist that you understand. And once you understand, it's going to be much easier for you to follow the whole program.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so how was it like competing and training clients simultaneously? Because you must be competing the next day and also prepping up guys. So was
Yeah.
it very hard?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if you're in that situation, you'll realize. I mean, my passion is bodybuilding, and so believe me, for 72 pro shows that I did, every time I did little different because I
Hmm.
wanted to experiment what happened here, and then I want to push to the limit, and then a few times I went overboard, but it was always exciting. I mean, human body changing within hours, it's
Yeah.
exciting. And then when
Yes.
you have an extreme muscle mass, like bodybuilders are not normal people. So let's face it, this is extreme muscularity, and then how far I can push it. For
Hmm.
example, I'll tell you this, as you know about the dieting, a certified nutritionist, and I said this in Dubai. Ben Pakulski, when I prepare him, right, I load him up with so much carbs he couldn't even believe it, right? So like 3 times more than he ever actually took. But then he comes Dennis Wolf, and for the
Hmm.
first show, because I project, okay, I'm going to carb deplete him and then I'm going to carb load him. I thought that 3,500 grams of carbs in 2.5 days would be, making him exploding full. but he would get full and then lose, and he was not super full. He placed third. He loved it, but I said, no, we have to do more. For Keystone, 2 weeks later, which he won, we did 4,000 grams of carbs in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much carbs that is? And then for Mr. Olympia 2007, 5,000 grams of carbs, which was shocking for me, because, there's just so much glycogen storage in the muscle and liver, right? So you don't, but at the time when you choose to carb load, obviously, you reduce the protein, your fats are very low. So the majority of calories are coming from carbs, but his metabolism is so fast, and 3 hours later he is going down. He is not, filling up. And 2007 he shocked the world, and as you know, he placed in top 5. So these are the kind of things. It's not a written prescription that now I can send everybody. Okay, just follow that. Some people need very little carbs and they respond greatly. So this is how it goes. Now,
So you just need an eye for it.
yeah, you need an eye for it,
Yeah.
and then you really need to monitor it, at all times.
So, like, what food choices would you recommend if somebody's having a high amount of carbs before the competition?
Yes, you see, my food choices would be the same, so-called off-season, which I never had off-season, but throughout a year. If you react badly on some food and you have allergic reactions and your body is not responding to it, this is horrible. So I would never want to change your normal approach. So the same carbs that you're eating, you're going to continue, but it's going to be much more of it. As I touch the subject, I like pre-workout to be complex carbs. So you would go with rice or sweet potato or oats or whatever choice is. I know that in India you guys have a roti, bread. I gave to some of my clients. But then during training, I like to maintain glycemia and drink my carbohydrates. So it could be as simple as dextrose or some complex polysaccharide, high molecular weight. I think I said this. I would tell people, save money. Really, you don't need to buy any fancy polysaccharides because glucose will do the job. You're going to get the same molecule of glucose from dextrose powder. There's $2 a pound, or cyclic dextrin. There is $20 or $50 a pound. The same thing you're going to get. Post-workout, I still would allow some simple carbs, and at that time, I would even allow some fruits because you need like 30% of your liver glycogen capacity, right? To be fructose, no problem. And then I would continue with a mixture of complex and simple carbs as I keep carb loading. So it's the same food that you're eating, just more of it with dramatically reduced protein. As normally my protein is super high.
Okay. Yeah. You told me about it. It's very high.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. And like your father being a doctor, so what role did he play in your initial bodybuilding career?
Major role, but I would tell you this, I don't know how it's in India. In Serbia, you see, my father was Doctor of Science of Neuropsychiatry, most educated, most intelligent guy I have ever met in my life to this day, most definitely. But I was a teenager and I didn't want to listen, really. There was always this rebellious, and especially because, as I said, he challenged me to think. Because like a Socrates, that's my favorite quote. I can, teach you anything. I can make you think. So he would ask me questions, challenge. So he said, explain me your hypertrophy methods. What the exercise physiology, tells you. And then when I told him, you basically break down the muscle tissue during intense training, and then your muscle would be replenished and rebuilt, through muscle damage, satellite cells, and all that stuff. And he really started laughing. He started laughing. I said, what do you mean? Right? And he did tell me that, I mentioned this just yesterday, somebody else. He take a big sledgehammer and said, okay, break now this wall. I said, what do you mean? Well, break the wall and then you can rebuild it. And then tomorrow again. And, because that's your method of hypertrophy. You're going to break it to rebuild it. Why? And that's when, one of the questions you want to ask me about hyperemia advantage. He asked me right there and there, do you realize, first he asked me, how much blood do you have in your body? I didn't know. I was 17 years old. What do I know? said, okay, you have about 6 liters. And he said, right now, as you're talking to me, it's very little in your muscles, 10%. But when you train, 60% of the blood goes in exact muscle you're training. So yeah. So he says, can you take advantage of that? And again, I at that time I didn't, really listen. And but say, what do you mean? So he says, what would happen if you have a pre-digested, anabolic, anti-catabolic, fat burning, whatever beneficial nutrients in your blood? So it doesn't need to go to the GI tract to be digested. It's already there, and now you deliver to the whatever muscle, let's say chest you're training, and every muscle contraction, it opens up the cell. It's ready for uptake for anything that you have in the blood. And I tell you this, at the time I didn't want to listen, for like a few days, and then it was bothering me. I go to sleep, and I said, "This makes sense. This makes sense." And say, "Okay, but I didn't read this in a bodybuilding magazine. I didn't, hear from Arnold Schwarzenegger that he does that." So in a Serbian pharmacies, you could have essential amino acids for renal patients, and medicine is free in Serbia. So I learned how to make the fake prescriptions still from my father. And I went and I got so much essential aminos, and then I mixed it with dextrose. I went to work out, and I mean, I was getting incredible gains. And let me mention this because we're going to touch the subject. I was drug-free for 6 years. So first 6 years of my training, it was drug-free, because a lot of people are going to say, okay, but it's easy for you because you are enhanced. No. 6 years I was drug-free. And why was I drug-free? I tell you, I read some magazine. There was a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and underneath says no steroids. So I honestly believed that this is, how it is. And no. And then what you hear from a general public, oh, steroids are dangerous, not healthy, it's going to damage you, no, right? This is, first initial impression of steroids. Once I came to America and competed at the highest level, I realized in order to be competitive, I have to do what big boys do. And then, of course, I research how to do it safely. But just for the argument, because a lot of times people are going to also say, it's overtraining. For 6 years of my bodybuilding career, I was drug-free. I trained 2 times a day, 6 days a week, like I continue, and I was drug-free. There was no such a thing as overtraining. There was that one thing that I say, under-eating and under-sleeping. But training, you train to stimulate, and as soon as you go home, you try as much possible to reduce your stress, to feed your muscle, to rest and digest, right? But it's very important because I'm sure that in India there is a lot of drug-free athletes. Yeah, and I don't, want to push the issue. Why wouldn't you do it? There is a safe way of doing it, but I would never tell anybody start. Reach your absolute maximal natural level, and once you reach a plateau, then maybe you should consider it. But go as far as you can naturally.
Yeah, that's the best advice you could give.
Yes.
And yeah, and since I did the muscle camp in Dubai, and I posted a couple of videos of doing giant sets when you made me do like 11 to 12 exercises in one go without any rest. So people kind of went crazy. I've received tons of DMs after that. So my question is, how did you come up with this kind of a training plan, as it's very different from what the conventional training plans are?
Yes, you see, again, I want to say this to everybody that's listening. You can either follow or lead. You can just copy somebody else, or you can try to invent your own. So it's not like I invented the giant sets for one of the Wither principles. Arnold Schwarzenegger talked about the giant sets. Stephen Mihalik from Czech Republic was talking about it. John Brown, so many people. But as I was going to different gyms and seeing many, top bodybuilders train, I see this guy go super heavy, and I see this guy never did anything heavy, and these guys, and there's many pro bodybuilders that I watch and I question, they had an incredible muscle mass, of course. So like, okay, if with the conventional teachings that we know years ago, there would be like, if you do something 1 to 5 reps, it's for a strength. 6 to 12 would be fast twitch fiber hypertrophy, and then if you do anything more, it will be slow twitch fiber. So you're not going to really increase cross-sectional area of the muscle, so you're not going to grow. But then I look at the guys, and they're growing like from day to day. Like, hold on a second. So I said, like, okay, let me try these giant sets first. And of course, I started with supersets, 2 different exercises. Then I had the third one, and I said, okay, if I honestly want to push the intensity, next workout had to be harder than the previous. And then when I started implementing my giant sets, which I usually do after 2 heavy-duty sets, so I pick for each muscle group 2 exercises that are going to go heavy-duty. After this, I go to the giant sets. And in giant sets, I would try to change everything possible. Maybe tempo in the first one, on the centric portion. On the other one, I would make you do the prolonged peak contraction. On the other one, I would change the angle, change the grip, stance, just to accomplish what? Different stimulation of for the same muscle. Of course, in the camp, I gave you guys the crazy giant sets because I just wanted to do something so outrageous that you never even thought about it doing it. But every single one of you guys finished perfectly. Nobody failed. And I remember even your wife was doing like, oh my God, crazy giant sets. But why? To be true to myself. What I want to accomplish, maximal stimulation of maximum amount of muscle fibers of the targeting muscle group. So am I going to achieve maximal just with the heavy duty and straight sets? And if you tell me, yeah, it is maximal, like Dorian Yates was doing, right? So I would even ask Dorian, so you want to tell me that if you do your straight set and finish right there, it's going to be more productive and more hypertrophy producing than if you finish that set and now you do the different angle, different grip, different tempo, lighter weight, and continue pushing the blood into the same muscle fibers. And then you're going to do another one and another one, right? So for me, the clear answer is, yeah, of course, if you do the, more intense, it doesn't have to be giant set. It can be drop set. It can be just a superset that you really try to push that cell-swelling volumization effect, metabolic stress type of training. As you know, not to be too technical, but the hypertrophy can be myofibril and sarcoplasmic. It can be muscle damage, mechanical tension, metabolic stress, stretch overload. So what I like to apply to, so of course, I would first look at your physique. So if I see your upper chest is dominant to the middle or lower, and then your inner is, so I would try to pick the exercises, heavy duty type for the part that you're missing. But then I'm going to also bomb that same part with a crazy pump. Pump itself is anabolic, and the exercise itself is anabolic, just exercising. On that note, you're going to say, but Milos, but Arnold or somebody else, didn't train like this. They did normally, 5 different exercises, 5 different sets or whatever. Well, you can reach development and hypertrophy with many different ways. I'm just answering to myself, what is maximal stimulation? So this is why. But make no mistakes about it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, many times you can see on YouTube, talks about giant sets before the contest. And so I would do giant sets closer to the contest, even back in the 90s. But then as soon as contest is over, I didn't. And somebody asked me in Japan, like, why not? And then I didn't really have an answer. And then I realized, okay, I was pretty much lying to myself, because this is a maximal stimulation, but it's super hard. And sometimes you want to back off. But then what happened is my good friend Hiratari Yamagishi, he came to my gym, and his sponsor offered me $50,000 bonus if he qualifies for Olympia. I told you that story, but and that's like, okay. Then I said, okay, I have a 1 year. Then I really start thinking, okay, what would be the best workout each and every day? And we train giant sets for 2 years straight. 2 years
Hmm.
straight, 2 times a day, 6 days a week. You know, so just to tell you, is this overtraining? Is this too much? And if you see some of those old interviews, I remember first interview, he didn't even speak English. You know, Majed, he
Yeah.
says, "Okay, you come to the Colosseum gym and we'll kill you." You know, that was pretty much the attitude. Mhm.
Uh, so next question is, what is the hyperemia advantage principle, and what kind of methods can be used to
Yeah,
it? You put some light on it too, but like
yeah.
a little bit in
So
detail.
hyperemia advantage is hyperemia is increased blood flow to the muscle. So as I said, that was the idea from my father. If I'm going to bring 60% of the blood in my muscle, right? I want to saturate that blood with the maximal anabolic nutrients. I'm going to increase my maximum the strongest anabolic hormone insulin by eating my carbohydrates. So as you know, simple carbohydrates within 3 minutes go in the bloodstream, and then within 45 minutes is going to peak strongest action. Insulin is going to be released, and if insulin is in the blood, it's going to store everything in the first available tissues. And your tissues that are available are only muscle tissue, right? So hyperemia advantage nutritional system would be pre, intra, and post-workout supplementation. And a hyperemia advantage training system would be applying this heavy duty with the metabolic test type of giant sets.
So
So that
by
combined.
heavy, yeah. So by heavy duty, you mean like doing one or two exercises like in the conventional way, heavy with
Yes,
heavy weights? Okay.
yes. And but I'm going to just tell you this because it's very important. Uh, I trained with Dorian Yates many times, and I mean, I really have nothing but great respect for him. He has accomplished unbelievable things. So now, I didn't really believe it when he was talking about he trains one warm up and then all out. I didn't believe it. So the first time we trained in the Gold Gym Venice, and then in my gym, and then in his gym in Birmingham, in America, and he was really, he warms up and then he goes all out. And for me, you know, I'm terrified of this. If I train you right now in Dubai, and you can do 500-pound squat or 400-pound squat, what are you going to warm up with 100 pounds? And then I'm
Hmm.
going to put you on 500? It's impossible. So my theory is when you start training after proper, warming up, just you're going to go in the first working, you're going to pick the two exercises, for compound moves for that muscle group. First set is going to be slow eccentric, slow concentric. As Ben Pakuski would call it, muscle centric, not movement centric. You think of the muscle. Then the progressive overload, you put more weight, and then you're going to go slow eccentric. And I would still, the second set, I would still do it slow concentric.
Hmm.
Weight, it's far away from failure, that you can do maybe 15 reps, 12 reps on a second. Now, third is pretty much first working set. And this is when you put weight that you can do, 10, 12 repetitions. And you go slow eccentric, explosive concentric, okay? And you stop short of failing, okay? Because that's the third preparing your muscle for an extreme effort set. And on the next set, fourth set, I will go that all out, and you put the weight that you can hardly handle 6 to 8 reps, and then your training partner is going to be there, to force a couple more reps, okay?
Okay.
And sometimes I would add final set eccentrics only. So, you would continue progressive overload. As you know, you can do more weight eccentrically than concentrically. So the next set would be heavier than previous, but you have to have a strong training partner if you're doing, let's say, incline barbell press, that he can, lift it up for you. Of course, you're going to do, some lifting, but you're focusing on 6, 8, 10-second eccentric, and then you do 5, 6 reps, usually. So now you're completely stimulated. Okay. Now you pick the second exercise. You don't need no warm up anymore. So that
Hmm.
second exercise you can choose again. First slow and slow, but already maybe 10 repetitions maximum, and then you're gonna do a second and third set all out. So for me, this is more than enough, right? You would have at least like 4 working sets for that muscle group. So for maybe some people who say, oh, that's not enough, because Arnold used to do, 5 sets, five exercises, 5 sets. So it's much more volume. But then really when you see Mike Manzer theory and we see Dorian Yates, they do that one out and then enough. But as we know now, that's just myofibril stimulation. So right after that, I apply my sarcoplasmic. And you can do also just straight sets with higher reps. Maybe, you see, I really like to play with the tempo. With we did this in Dubai. Let's say 10 seconds on the first rep, 9 on the second, 8 on the third, eccentrically, or next set concentrically, or next set peak contraction. You prolong that. Because when they say you want a prolonged time under the tension, I say, okay, you can have a prolonged time under tension eccentrically, or concentrically, or isometrically, right? So they're all different stimulations. And I always believe that the more variety, the more stimulation.
Yeah, great. So that all makes sense. And so for whom would you recommend this kind of a training style and dieting protocol? Like, would a person who is doing a job like 9 to 5, would he be able to incorporate all this kind of
Yeah,
in his lifestyle?
I mean, yeah, I understand there's other people. Okay, I would recommend this to everyone that wants to accomplish maximal results. So if you're 9 to 5 physical therapist, right? And you still go to the gym at 6 o'clock or 7, right? And you still want to, maximal results. Yeah, I would tell you, of course, be true to yourself. But would I recommend beginners? No. Beginners, as you know, that they will respond to anything initially. I would just tell beginners, like, really be in tune with your body. Try to learn about mind-muscle connection, feel the muscle working, right? And then, once you get a little bit stronger, which is going to happen very fast, you can, progressively overload and then on some exercises, okay? On some exercises, I don't even care if your execution is not perfect, right? Sometimes I want you to fight with the weight, lift that goddamn weight. It doesn't matter that secondary muscle groups are going to be involved, right? Doesn't matter. I think it's going to be so much more force on your primary mover anyway because you have such a more load.
I hope Ben isn't watching.
Yeah, no, but I will say this in front of Ben. Okay. You see, Ben is execution perfectionist. Yes,
Yeah.
but you understand this, Aaron, really. And I've seen how you perform exercises. You were, most perfect. Everything was okay. You stabilize your scapula. You do it. But if I tell right now a beginner, stabilize the scapula, okay, and they're gonna think of a scapula, not of the muscle.
Yeah.
And then are they going to really be able to produce that force? So Ben is strictly against inertia, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, because you can use it, okay? And then after the first set, second set, once you're moving that weight, now let me, I felt my muscle, my primary mover, let me now reduce that inertia. But for anybody in the beginning, I would say, again, contrary to what you said, don't go with your natural instinct. I would say, yeah, go with your natural instinct. How would you lift this weight in this exercise? Okay, if this is your natural instinct, your body is designed and muscles are combined for different movements, elbow extension, flexion, or whatever else, for a purpose. Now, can you really, really, really isolate one muscle exactly and not do? And Ben Pakuski always mentioned is the biggest expert, Tom Purvis, from his teachings, I'm sure and Tom would tell you the first thing, you can't isolate one, right? So, I'm a little bit more open-minded. Sorry, Ben.
So the next question is quite hard. So if a person is a competitive bodybuilder, so should they be cruising in between cycles, or should they be doing a TRT dose, or should they go completely off? And
Okay.
if they do TRT, then when should they start it in their career?
Okay. So if you say TRT, just testosterone replacement therapy, or anabolic steroids cycles. That's different things, right?
Yeah.
TRT for just regular person, you don't even do it until your hormonal level of testosterone go down, and then now you need to replace it. But if you use anabolic steroids, and let's define it, this is doping. What does it mean, doping? That's why it's unethical in sports. It's not dangerous and unhealthy. It's unethical, because if you use it, if I use it and you don't, I'm bigger, stronger, faster, and recuperate. So I have advantage. But I said this in Generation Iron. Anabolic steroids are healthy medicaments produced, to help all the critical catabolic patients. If you don't abuse them, they're going to increase your health. They are constructive, not destructive. But now your question is, if you are on anabolics or testosterone and you're going to get off of it, should you still cruise and be on certain amount? I would say no. I always wanted, and I competed 72 times as a pro, 110 times in my life. And I told you, first 6 years I was drug free, and then I used steroids to this day. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Why do I use steroids? Off and on, because now of course I'm 56 years old, but I was using to maximize my hypertrophy, okay, to maximize my recovery and to be healthy. I did my blood tests throughout, so what can possibly, like cardiovascular, renal, hepatic damage, okay? My liver was genetically damaged. I had Gilbert syndrome, and I was told if I touch steroids, I'm going to die. But obviously, I did it for 30-something years, and I didn't die. So when I would be on the cycle, I would get off. I would be on my PCT, post-cycle therapy, hypothalamus pituitary testicular axis focus on religiously. So I would rest my receptors, and then when I would hit it again, my body would respond. And I can tell you this because I have hundreds of clients now, and they were practicing this for a long time. They never get off of it. They just go on a big cycle during, and then when it's off, they still use quite a bit of testosterone. I would get off completely. Okay, unless you are now 56 years old and you're just on hormonal testosterone replacement therapy, then I would tell you that you can continue. But normally, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, you should go off and on, absolutely.
So if you're competing all year long, so how much off time do you recommend?
Yeah, I was, my general rule of thumb, I was whatever on, half time off. So if I would be 8 on, 4 off, 10 on, 5 off, 12, 6. This is my general, But then sometimes if the competitions were closer, I would have to manipulate. And I did the journals all the time, but I would really structure my competitions so I can have that rest period and then go back. And you see in bodybuilding in America, in IBB, it was February and March. Arnold Classic is always first week in March. So that's it. Then there was May shows, Night of Champions, Niagara Falls, and all that stuff. And then there would be Olympia and European Tour. So it was perfectly for me that I can go on and off all the time.
Okay, that's good. So, in your opinion, is there any place for vegan or vegetarian bodybuilding?
Yes. No, seriously. I mean, of course, you see me eat like with Ben Pekulski there, like big old steaks. And I tease vegetarians, like Charles Poliquin would always say, vegan is perfect diet if you add 2 pounds of meat or 2 kilos of meat. But I have a lot of friends and clients from India. I mean, I had a pro bodybuilder from India, human.
Yeah,
Varinder. He was a vegetarian. So how do you put so much mass on a guy like this? Yeah. So it depends if you are, strictly, absolutely doing no animal proteins whatsoever, or you are pescatarian or ovo-lacto, you have eggs or, But as I told you in training camp, my number one supplement in the world would be essential amino acids. So essential, if you have essential amino acids, which I have here, like 5 kilos of it, and you're vegan, you can complement your incomplete protein from vegetarian diet with essential amino acids adding to each meal. So is this possible? Absolutely. There was several pro bodybuilders that were vegetarians. I know back in the day, Andreas Calling, and I think even Bill Pro was vegetarian.
Bill, yeah. Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
was a lacto ovo vegetarian.
Okay. Yeah. You see,
Yeah, yeah.
so if you ask me, and I have friends from India that probably listening, maybe for religious purposes, you know, they're doing this. Okay, so I understand if it's religion, you have to respect it. But then, is this strictly vegetarian? Is this healthy? No, you're not going to have a sufficient amount of essential amino
Nutrients.
acids,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Especially then if you know vegetarian training and you have all this protein degradation, you know, workout is going to be hard. So I would tell you, if nothing else, have essential amino acids. If you can have a protein powders, you know, yeah, then obviously it's much easier. If you can have eggs, oh, beautiful. Yeah, but yeah, it
Great.
is possible.
So you've mentioned several times that you never went on a full off season and you were like in shape all year long. So would you recommend doing this for everyone and staying in shape all year around?
Yes.
And can you grow muscle in that phase?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to tell you this, you know, because I like very much appreciate your physique. And let's
Thank you.
answer the honest question: do we want to be in shape year round, or you just want to be in shape when you're close to the contest? You know, we are bodybuilders because we like muscles and being in shape. So when they say this, eat big to get big is a bullshit excuse, you know, to eat anything and just get fat. Do you want to gain 30 kilos and 5 kilos of muscle and, you know, 20 fat? No. For me, was what I've seen people when they start dieting, they get too fat, they have to compromise, right? They have to, you know, exclude some macronutrient, probably carbohydrate, and then create caloric deficiency. Once you create caloric deficiency, you're gonna go into catabolic state. Now, if you can monitor, you can just catabolize the fat but maintain the muscle. But it's you know, much harder when you have to do dramatic fat loss. So what I was doing right after contest, right? I would now my metabolism is primed. I'm very lean. I would watch it. I would just increase my calories, of course, but I would you know, be within the range. That I really normally didn't do any cardio, and then
Yeah.
close to the contest, I would keep the same diet but include a little bit of cardio. That was the difference. So
Okay.
the question is, if anybody should go off season as big as they can. No, nobody wants to put fat. It's not healthy, and it's counterproductive to your career. And I've seen this before. Let me tell you, I had a Malaysian team. I had you know, some Asians, and they would do exactly this. They gain off season and then a contest. You know, and there for 10 years straight, they're 70 kilos. They didn't improve like one goddamn, you know, kilo in 10 years. I was, if you follow my career, I started, you know, 91. I looked like a man's physique, and then I looked a little bit maybe as a, you know, classic
Classic
physique,
physique.
and then I went. I was steady, you know, but you know, progressing slowly, but I made a progress every contest.
So Dexter Jackson just asked the question, can you be Mr. Olympia by being vegetarian?
That's the Jackson asked.
Yeah, he asked that right now.
Yeah, you can. I'm serious. You can, because let me tell you. Okay, if you take chicken and turkey and fish and beef and eggs, whatever else, you don't take it for the chicken and beef. You take for a amino acid content. And the only difference from animal that's complete protein. Why is complete? Because they have all the essential amino acids in the right amounts. And why is vegetarian incomplete? Because you're lacking some. But now, if you add, like, Charles Poliquin was taking 120 grams of essential amino acids a day, plus 80 grams of glutamine a day, plus his food. Okay? So if you're vegetarian and you're going to take 120 grams of essential amino acids, I would be 100% sure that you're going to maintain all the muscle mass and possibly increase it. So if
Yeah.
If Dexter asks, hell yeah, Dexter. Vampire.
So, like research data shows that HDH doesn't promote muscle mass and it only helps with the replenishment of collagen and helps in fat loss, increases your metabolism. So, is it necessary for competitive bodybuilding?
Well, is it okay? You're correct, and I always said this. The same as it's GH is not anabolic, but it's anti-catabolic, and
Yeah.
promotes fat loss. So would it be beneficial? Yes. Is this absolutely necessary? No. Now, I had a lot of people before they were taking a growth hormone, alone, and I would tell them growth hormone is diabetogenic. It creates a hyperglycemia, and within years you can, become diabetic using GH. So you have to monitor and drop it down. So is this absolutely necessary? No. And many times even I could not afford GH for the contest. And I know many other pro bodybuilders, they couldn't. So they don't use it. If somebody would give it to me, would I use it? Yes, of course. I would always use it.
Okay. So, and next is so if like insulin is an anabolic hormone and it reduces muscle protein breakdown.
Yes.
So somebody in a PCT, would he benefit from just using insulin
Oh,
to
yes. Oh,
reduce muscle protein breakdown
oh,
because it
yes.
doesn't play with their HPTA?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, this is the difference. There's anabolic compounds from androgenic standpoint, anabolic steroids, but then there is insulin that has nothing to do with your HPTA, as you said.
Yeah, yeah.
So would it be beneficial? Absolutely. And many times when I had my clients get off of steroids completely, on that period, I would encourage them to do more insulin in their daily workouts. You see, I always, contrary to Dave Palumbo and some other, they use insulin sporadically and in the morning for whatever reason. I use only when it can be my best friend, not my enemy. And that's right before the workout to drive that nutrients as I'm training, and immediately after to replenish the glycogen. So yeah, if you are on PCT, you are on
Yeah,
PCT
PCT.
or just on nothing, you're not taking anabolics, the insulin or not, for sure. If you want to maximize results, insulin would be more beneficial.
So if done in the right way, it won't make you gain fat.
No, yes. Look, yeah, let's define this. Insulin is not selective. It's going to store everything that is in the blood. And amino acids, glucose, creatine, everything there, ATP, is positive. We want to store. But if you have too much triglycerides, that's also going to be stored. It can be stored in fat deposits. It can be intramuscular triglycerides. So if you are playing with the insulin, you have to know exactly what you're doing, because indeed it can make you obese. It can make you very fat if you are not carefully monitoring how you're taking.
And which one would be the best, the fast acting or the long acting?
Yeah, the fast acting, and why fast acting? As you endogenously, it would be insulin would be released and then a peak within 45 minutes, and then like 2 hours, that postprandial period, it would go down. So fast acting Humalog, Novolog, or now Fiasp, has very similar to endogenous. It's easy to control. Okay, if you take long acting, it's gonna stay there all day long, and it can it go up and down. It can get you in hypoglycemia, and then you're gonna be hyperglycemic. If you're hyperglycemic, it's gonna create so much. It's toxic. It's retinopathy, neuropathy. There is all that stuff. But if you're hypoglycemic, you're gonna go into panic mode. It's not good. So fast acting is very easy to control. 15 minutes is onset, 45 minutes is peak, 2 hours is strong action, 4 hours is completely out. So, okay, if anybody would take it, they need to just know how to counteract. So normally, if you don't use insulin, you eat carbohydrates, and then your blood sugar level increases, and then your pancreas releases insulin. So insulin is only in your blood if you have a high glycemia. But if you inject the insulin and you don't eat the carbohydrates, your glucose level is low, and the insulin is going to lower it even more, then you're in trouble. You're going to go hypoglycemic. So you just need to respect the period of time that you are on and have enough glucose.
And the benefit of taking it pre-workout is to enhance the hyperemia effect.
Yes, to
Yeah.
enhance
So
the
put
premium
more
effect
nutrients.
and a transport. You see the glucose transport. It's so if you are, and I mentioned this example because this is how it is. If you're hyperkalemic and you're about to die, your heart is about to stop, and they rush you to the hospital, what are they going to do? They're going to inject you with the glucose and insulin.
Glucagon.
The glucose is going to take the potassium out of the blood right into the tissues. Okay. Because it's such a strong action of insulin, takes everything out of the blood and into the tissues. So when you're training and you saturate the blood, as I was saying, with all the essential aminos, BCA, glutamine, beta-alanine, citrulline, and everything, it's going to shove it into the muscle. So that's why I take it 45 minutes before the workout and then second time immediately after.
Okay, that's a good explanation, and I think it should work. But I
Yeah.
think we need to tell the people that they need to have like the simple carbs on hand if they go hypoglycemic, just to be on the safer side.
Yeah, but I don't really like to talk about it because then some people use it and then so Milos, oh my God. Well, this is why they hire me as a coach, and when I give them exact timing of everything, amount of everything, so you cannot make mistake. And I do bulletproof. Nobody ever had a mistake, unless you mix measure or mistime it. This happened a couple of times. But if you know what you're doing, it's a great benefit to you.
Somebody asked, what is the ratio between carbs and insulin?
Yeah, I did the first article for Muscle Media 2000. I said 10 grams per unit, and that was just to play safe. It's about 5 to 6 grams per unit of insulin that would take you
Okay.
through.
Okay.
So this is the rule of thumb.
Okay.
But would I give you more if I'm training you and I know how much I'm going to blast in a workout like you experience? So how much? Okay, I'm going to ask you, how much glucose or glycogen you think you burn in my workout in Dubai?
Probably 200 grams.
Yeah, possibly, right? So then inter-workout, how much carbs can you take it, right? You can take
Yeah.
more than that. So this is why Ben was saying back in the day, I used to give him 150 grams of glucose intra-workout. I did different for everybody, of course, but you see, he remembers 150.
And your thought on SARMs?
Well, you see, I'm going to be honest, and I said this, sound very sexy, right? It sounds like and usually when people tell you something about what you want to hear, it usually is not true. So let's say SARMs came first steroidal SARMs in the 1940s, okay, and then now they changed it this non-steroidal. I was lucky enough; I got him to try. I read 140. I did the Ostarine. I mean, they sent it to me, and I really wanted to try it and give honest assessment. And for me, there was nothing close comparing to the steroids. Now I'm going to tell you this. In the pharmacological industry, if you're coming up with a new medicament, how many years do you need to really research and examine and follow, side effects, to make conclusions? 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
SARMs made
Are fairly new.
commercially. Yeah, it is commercially to tell all this. I'm afraid to take anabolic steroids, but now I'm gonna take Testolone, right? The Red 140, or there's so many of them. I did Ostarine, Ligandrol. They gave me, as well. I had a few, and Ben Perkuski told me in Dubai that Red 140 for him is better than oxandrolone. I don't know if he told you that also. And I said, like, no way, no how. But you see, I respect his experience. My personal experience was far away from it, not even comparable. And then if you are afraid of pharmaceuticals, the steroids can do the side effects, right? How come you're not afraid of this just because they tell you, okay, it's selective tissues and it's not going to go maybe on prostate, it's going to go on muscle tissue and bone mass, all that stuff selectively. Really, how you selectively, push towards one tissue, not the other. So especially everything oral, and even when they advertise, they say that doesn't affect your hepatic system and it's not dangerous and toxic on the liver. Everything you put through your mouth and goes through the first pass liver is going to increase the enzymes, guarantee. So
Okay.
one of those things. So I'm not really pro SARMs, but
Okay.
to be fair, I only have a bad personal experience. Not bad, but not comparative to my anabolic steroid use.
Okay, so we've got about 4 minutes left,
Yes.
and the time just flew. So two quick questions. So in your era, Mr. Olympia was held in different locations all year
Yeah.
round. Every year it was different. So now it's held in Las Vegas. So was the experience better that time, or do you find it better now?
It's for me. It's better and fairer to be international, to be all over the
Hmm.
place, and then
Yeah,
have international. It's IFBB stands for International, Federation of Bodybuilders. So
yeah,
international, yeah, you should be making Olympiads all over the place, but it's convenient, and that's why they do it. I also don't agree with the predominantly American judges because, okay, if you're true to yourself, you should have a pick from one from each country. And, Sean Ray always says, "Oh, you never beat me." And I never beat Sean. I say, "Okay, but Sean, what do you think is going to happen if you come to Serbia and you compete and I have a 9 out of 12 Serbian judges? You think you're going to beat me?"
yeah,
It's not, he probably would anyway. But,
yeah.
just an example. It should be all over the place.
Okay. And in your opinion, why aren't the bodybuilders of this era as ripped as your era?
Yeah.
And why do we?
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't train hard enough, I promise, because I constantly hear this overtraining, 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 and they don't diet hard enough. I mean, seriously. Now, also, what we talk about, they allow themselves to get super fat, and then, now they have to lose. I would challenge you to find my guest posing pictures that I was out of shape. I mean, I was not in contest shape, but when I posted my Instagram, some guys posting pictures, I say, "Oh my God, you look like a competitor nowadays." So do they train hard enough? I'm sorry, they don't. I guarantee this. They're now more machine based and
Okay.
overtraining. I train 2 times a day, 6 days a week, 550 workouts a year. I was not overtrained. Okay, dieting, so if you maintain low levels of body fat, you can be in shape, and I proved it. I competed in every organized show throughout the year. So every show that was organized, I was ready to step on stage. Nowadays, how many people do that?
Yeah.
So it is a job that you have to do. You have to be passionate about. You have to learn your craft. I mean, that's why I know that you educate your clients. I educate mine, and I hope that some of you listeners learned something today. I know I keep repeating
Uh,
myself because I'm just answering the questions. So if the
and
questions are different, maybe next time
and
I'll
yeah.
answer different type. But
And if somebody wants to take training from you, how should he approach you?
the best is social media. I mean, Instagram, as you're doing it right now. It's the easiest way to find me. You find me instantly, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, Facebook I don't really look at, and my email is very easy. My first name dot last name at iCloud.com. But I also have a gmail.com. I have a hotmail.com. I have everything. But
Okay.
Instagram is the best.
Okay. So I would like to wrap this up and thank you very much. And I appreciate that you took out 1 hour, especially for your Indian audience and especially for
Yes,
me. So I'm very thankful to you.
you're
So
very you're very welcome.
next time when I'm in California, I'll definitely drop by, and me and my wife would like to have a couple of sessions with you at your gym.
Absolutely, I would love to by all means. And yeah, I want to commend both of you. You seeking knowledge.